this is John Sadak, TV voice of the Cincinnati Reds, and you're up for Late Night Reds Talk.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday nights. Welcome back to Late Night Reds Talk Live on Wednesday nights. Very excited to be back here with the crew. We are brought to you, of course, by the Believe Podcast Network and our good friends at Bet Online. It is Final Four time, folks. Nicholas, we got a lot of really good games. We have the classic North Carolina Duke. We've got Kansas and Villanova. Who are you feeling the most confident in your Final Four picks right now?
Well, I got Villanova. I put some money on them to cover the 4.5 point spread. I don't like the Carolina Duke line, but I do think there's some value on North Carolina to win the whole thing. I think they were like almost plus 475. So those are my two bets this weekend.
Clay, what about you?
I do not watch college basketball, but I am going to pull for North Carolina. How about that?
You're live near Lexington and you don't watch college basketball?
I'm going to keep my comments about UK basketball to myself. I'll leave it at that.
Good business decision.
There we go. Carlos, how you feeling? I know you love college basketball so much.
I think we got Carlos muted there, working through some technical challenges this evening.
Oh, well, perfect. Well, in that case, head over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get started. And your Bet Online is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Bet Online, where the game starts. I also found out today when I was looking on there, you can apparently bet on WrestleMania. That's weird. You can bet on Stage Sports.
Yeah.
So, you want to bet on Roman Reigns, I guess you can. But with that being said, we'll get to things that are real in baseball. Max, hi. We're ready too. And let's talk real quick, guys, about the news that came out that the Reds have officially signed Tommy Pham. He's was he in the lineup today, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the lineup today.
Yeah. So obviously this was like the guy in our chat, like each and every week, fans were like, we got to get Tommy Pham. And the Reds went and got him. So, Clay, we'll bring you in as the guest on the show. What are your thoughts here on Tommy Pham joining the roster? Really kind of fits a need this team needed with the loss of Castellanos, obviously. Not saying he's anywhere near that player by any stretch of the matter, but really nice pickup for the Reds on a short notice.
Yeah, I love this move. Tommy Pham's a guy who can get on base, has some speed, has enough pop that it won't go unnoticed, and he can hit left-handed pitching. Now, last year he was a reverse splits guy, but over his career he's done really well against left-handed pitching. The other thing that he does that there really isn't another player on this roster who can do it is if India misses any time, Tommy Pham could be your leadoff hitter. We saw that a lot in San Diego last year. And if you look at his baseball savant page, there's a lot of red. So bring in Tommy Pham on a 1-year deal with an option. I thought it was the perfect move, and he was definitely a target I wanted the Reds to go after all off season.
Nick, you had any thoughts to Tommy Pham joining this crew?
Yeah, I mean, we did the emergency show, so I won't, harp too much on him. But yeah, I mean, it's a great pickup for the Reds. Fills a huge need with Solano going down. That we'll talk in a second. I mean, man, he is really valuable now. This lineup against left-handed pitching would really look rough without Solano and without him. So yeah, I'm excited. I imagine let's pump the brakes if he comes out a little slow because he is a couple weeks behind everyone else. But yeah, I'm definitely super excited about this move.
Carlos, do we have you back?
No.
I see he's muted, but can't tell. Yeah, so Bryce did say that. Said Joey was one of his favorite hitters, so that's a pretty cool thing to have there as well. Yeah, I like this pickup. I think it's really exciting for the team. This is a guy, like we said, like people talk about him and Michael Conforto all off season as potential guys the Reds should go after. So getting one of the two isn't bad. Last I checked, Conforto still hasn't signed with anybody, right?
Yep.
So who knows? Maybe that'll lead to the next portion there. So yeah, I like this move. It's good for the Reds. It's good for Tommy Pham. I think he'll do really well in that ballpark. So let's go real quick and kind of talk about the Seattle Jesse Winker Eugenio Suarez trade is officially done. As the Reds have finally added their player to be named later, and that is Connor Phillips. Phillips immediately becomes the Reds' number 14 ranked prospect, a right-handed pitcher. What do we guys know about him?
Yeah, so Connor Phillips is a good player, and the Just Baseball Top 10 that Arm put out for Seattle back in September, which obviously it's changed a little bit since then, had him slotted in near the back of the top 10 at number 9. Plus fastball, plus curveball, 60 grade on both of those. Command's been an issue with him. Just to read a couple of sentences that Arm wrote about him. Great raw stuff, but inconsistent mechanics. Was drafted as a high upside project who lacked pitchability. Fit the bill for better or for worse this season, demanding an electric fastball that can reach upper 90s and a curve that flashes plus. I texted Arm before this and just asked him, where would you slot Connor Phillips in the top 10? And he said around 10, give or take how a few things have changed over the past couple weeks. But, if you are somebody who wants to complain about the player to be named being a top 10-ish prospect, depending on what list, 10 to 15, I mean, usually a player to be named is a nobody. So this is a good get. And it just adds one more project piece. Him and Chase Petty are kind of the same kind of lottery ticket type arms.
Yeah, I know a lot of Reds fans were like, well, first was it the Mariners were like, yeah, the guy that we're losing in this trade is someone that's really going to hurt us before they put a name to it. And then the next part of that was like Reds fans that were like, is it like Julio Rodriguez? And I'm like, you guys need to calm the F down. It's definitely not going to be J-Rod, because otherwise the Reds would 1,000% win this trade before these guys even played.
Somebody asked me if it was going to be Kelenic, and I was like, absolutely not. That's not how this works. But
I sure hope so.
Just quickly, I love all of the players in this trade. I like this trade. It's a tough pill to swallow. But in reality, you get off of some money, which I know that's not what everyone wants to hear right now. But in terms of it's already happened. So we might as well just talk about it. Brandon Williamson's a guy who I liked a lot in the Seattle system. So when I heard that he was coming over, I was excited about that. Justin Dunn's a perfectly fine depth rotation guy, 4th or 5th guy. I mean, I don't understand why people are not excited about him. He was injured most of last year. Missed the back half of the season. So there was some people that were surprised about the injury news when it was broke that he'd miss some time. That was expected. The Reds knew that. That was not them, not doing their homework. And Jake Fraley's a guy who I said on the Punctuation podcast would be a fan favorite. Anyone that's watched this guy play, and now Reds fans have seen a glimpse of it. I watched him in Seattle quite a bit last year. And he just is a really good just ball player. He takes pitches, battles at bats. He's gonna at the very least make a pitcher work each at bat. So the return is, it's tough to see those two players go, but overall, I'm actually happy with the return. I would have liked one huge piece, but Kirby was not going to be available. George Kirby, not Nick. Nick's always available to be traded, but George Kirby was not going to be available. Neither was Rodriguez. So I think that the Reds did well.
What about Kyle Lewis? Why couldn't the Reds get Kyle Lewis? Talk about prospects.
Yeah, and Kyle Lewis is a guy I would have liked to get. I would not be happy if he was in this particular package. He has had 2 major knee injuries. So trading 2 of your MLB type assets for a injury risk of Kyle Lewis, who still hasn't played, it's just risky. It really is. I don't think that he can play center anymore. And the Mariners said anything that we get out of him in terms of production is going to be a bonus. So they're not even counting on him. I would have liked a separate deal for a flyer on Kyle Lewis, but it did not make sense in this deal.
Carlos, we got you back.
Think so, buddy.
He's back. Everybody cheer.
Let's go.
Also, shout out. I saw my guy Paps Blue Monday in the chat. I do not have my PBR today. I apologize. Opening day episode. I'll definitely have it. Carlos, we got to drink PBR next week.
Don't know about that.
You're on your own there, bud.
I drink my own crappy beer, thank you.
Man, you're trying to lose a listener in Paps Blue Monday. It's like that, huh?
No, I think the only time I did have Pabst Blue was whenever I was in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
I'll drink it. Damn it.
Well, Carlos, real quick, I don't know if you've had much time to look into this. Just curious if you had anything you wanted to add to the late addition to the trade, and now that everything's official.
I mean, I guess if I'm in it long term as a Reds fan, you can kind of see how it's a decent trade. But I mean, you guys know my fandom's riding pretty hard with the first baseman we have right now, and this isn't going to do anything for him. So I don't like it.
I understand. I understand where you're coming from, but I respect your thoughts on it. But with that being said, the cool thing about all this, so Connor Phillips, like we said, now is the Reds number 14 top prospect, which adds to a pretty good Reds farm system, and the top prospect list now being updated has been really since kind of jumping out. So obviously I know we're going to talk a lot about Hunter Green today. So that's exciting news that we're going to get to, but like you said, so Brandon Williamson's there now at number 5, Chase Petty at number 7, Connor Phillips at number 15. Clay, we had you and RM on a few months back when we talked about the Reds prospect list and what Just Baseball put together. And, it's cool now that we're starting to see names that you guys mentioned on there, like Graham Ashcraft and Jay Allen, and obviously Ellie De La Cruz kind of gets some more flash and love here. So this is exciting, man. This is something to be pumped about.
I mean, yeah, if you enjoy minor league baseball, being a Reds fan is going to be awesome. If you want to watch that, I know Carlos might not be catching that many Louisville Bats games this year. A lot of these players will be with the Dragons. So, Carlos, if you're ever in beautiful Dayton, Ohio, man,
Carlos is the Dayton Dragons alum, so he may just be.
Whenever they do the Carlos bobblehead night, we will all make a trip to Dayton, Ohio.
It was in 2020. You missed it. That's a bad legit? COVID joke. Sorry.
Oh.
But so the thing with this list that we're looking at, which is 1 through 15, is there's a difference in projections here. You see some high floor players, and then some like big kind of bust potential. And I'm not saying that in terms of just I think they will bust, but you see some players with a super high ceiling that who knows if they'll ever even play a game. And they talked about that on the Just Baseball prospect show that came out this week about Ellie De La Cruz. He has all the tools to be one of the better players in the National League. But a lot of times with these prospects, it is kind of boom or bust with them. But they've sprinkled in plenty of high floor players as well. So I like to see that, kind of balance out. So I'm happy with where the list is right now.
Yeah, I like it. Nick, you said we had a quick question you wanted to get to.
Ooh, yeah. Reds in 4. That's a good question. Personally, I would go.
Hold on. Let's read it because this is a podcast as well.
It's my first time. Sorry.
I don't want anyone to be disappointed listening tomorrow. I'll read it. Rank them: Graham Ashcraft, Bryce Bonin, Connor Phillips.
This is not my expertise, so Clay, this might be all
Bryce
you.
Bonin, yeah.
I would go Graham Ashcraft first, and I personally think he's in a different tier than those other two. He's not in the tier of Green and Lodolo, but right below that. Then I would go, and I haven't seen much of Connor Phillips, but I would go Connor Phillips second there, and Bryce Bonin third. But Phillips, from what I saw, especially I watched a bunch today, the movement on that curveball. I mean, if he could start locating better and have better control, which we often see, but he's 20 years old. Like there's plenty of time for him to figure that out and for them to groom him. So that's what I would personally do.
Shout out Carrick Melvin. Yes, the Dragons will be loaded this year. I think I'll be making a couple drives up to Dayton to go check them out. So they're gonna be fun to watch. But
Yeah.
Go ahead, Clay. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention Carrick Melvin has started a new Facebook group that Carlos would love. That is called
Prospects everywhere.
It's called Reds Minor Leagues, I believe, and it's really good information for anyone who wants to follow it's called Cincinnati Reds Farm System. Sorry, and he's posting the links to all the articles for all of these players. So anyone interested in that and anyone on Facebook should check it out. Sorry.
Yeah, and Carrick's been an awesome, loyal viewer of the show every week, and we really appreciate the support. So thanks, Carrick, for joining in every week.
Also, shout out Joey Ricotta hanging out with us today. Love to see it. Even though he tried to say the Cubs should get Joey Votto and Luis Castillo in a trade. Other than that, he's great. Love Joey Ricotta.
I'm disappointed we're not starting the season with the Cubs. We couldn't have Joey on, have some fun banter. Yeah, kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I like following Joey on Twitter because he gives really great fantasy baseball advice, and I just had my draft on Monday. So I definitely appreciated some of his insight and definitely contribute to. And then it's my wife's uncle's family. I'll get into a quick story before we go. And they were all laughing at me because I'm the only Reds fan. I drafted India and Votto. And I was like, joke's on you. They're hitting 30 homers this year each.
I like it.
You guys know who else I picked up in fantasy baseball today?
Please tell us.
Hunter Green! Because it's official, folks. Sunday, April 10th, the Sunday before Easter, Hunter Green making his major league debut against the defending World Series champions, the Atlanta Braves. He'll be the fourth pitcher in that series behind Tyler Mahle, my guy, as we know, Raver San Martin, Vladimir Gutierrez, and then apparently, though not confirmed just yet, Nick Lodolo pitching against the Guardians in the second game of the second home game, and only this 2 of the 13 games coming up. So, obviously with Luis Castillo, there was some shuffling of the cards. I know Vladimir Gutierrez didn't look too great today in the spring training game against Oakland. But, we've talked all offseason about the possibility we could see these guys pitching together. And so seeing Hunter Green, Pabst Blue Monday, yes, at Hunter, he'll be at Hunter's debut. Cannot wait. My guy, I appreciate seeing this. I am, as you can tell, through the roof. Hunter Green is making his major league debut, and he'll be on the roster. Guys, we've talked about this now for years, and I kind of want to go through one quick thing before we get into our thoughts on the rotation. I know a lot of Reds fans out there are saying it's about time. Did we forget this guy got Tommy John and also COVID stopped the minor league season? So when we say it's about time, that's a little immature to kind of put next to his name, right?
Yeah, not only that, I think he's 22 years old. Like most pitchers do not debut at that age. You're looking most around. I mean, when you talk about top tier pitchers, most of them debut at 24 years old or around that. Jacob deGrom debuted at 26. So coming up this early is, I'm not going to say risky because they know more than we do about how ready they are. I know everyone's going to be excited and tuned in for that. I do want to say, I don't like all the moves that the Reds front office has made this year. And there's definitely some head scratchers. One thing I will say, I really haven't said anything positive about the front office. But one thing I will say is they let India start the year with the club last year and Green this season, and maybe more. Maybe Lodolo comes up really quickly as well. That's awesome. At least they're doing that. They could be sending all these players down or doing what some teams are doing to avoid the PR is, they have a tweak in something and they're out 2 weeks, which just happens to be, service time. Oh, they're going to be right then. So I do like that they're doing that. Hopefully Vlad can pitch much better than he did today. There's just a lot of contact today.
Carlos, we'll bring you in the conversation here. Nick, obviously, I want to get your thoughts on this too. So you talked a couple weeks ago about Hunter and how you were waiting for him to find that additional pitch, and it's starting to kind of like you're seeing a little bit more of that. You said the way you saw him in the minors last year, you didn't feel like he was necessarily a big league pitcher, but you said you were pretty impressed with what you saw in the spring. So what do you kind of take away from this announcement?
I think it's great, man. Good for him. I mean, it shows a lot, like you guys said, or he's coming back from, from that COVID season, from Tommy John. He hasn't thrown a whole lot. He's very young, and Clay's right. Whenever he says, it takes a while for these guys to basically learn how to pitch. Whenever you're that young, and I mean, it's all about reps, right? Like anything else, it's just reps, and it's reps against live competition. How you learn to be better. I saw Hunter's last start, and the big takeaway was for me was how big the swings were against him, especially from right-handers. His fastball wasn't moving all that much, and his breaking ball I thought was below average, but that's okay because you can tell the spin is there. It's just not as tight and not pulling up against the wind as much, because it's really hard to get a good break on a ball in Arizona. So I'm not worried about that. It'll going to be nice to see him debut in Atlanta. He'll have some more humidity there to grab a hold of that ball, but it's gonna take reps, man. Like that righty on righty changeup, he needs it bad. He needs it really bad, and kudos to the Reds for throwing him in there right now to basically learn that pitch in the big leagues, because he's not going to make it too long as a starter if he can't figure out a third pitch to a right-handed hitter. But the lefties, I mean, that changeup looked really nice. He just has to, again, just to say, he just has to go out there and throw it more often and be more confident to righties, because it's a great pitch. It's a great changeup.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, I agree with all of that. And there's a point that sometimes developing in the majors, it's not for every player, but it does work for some. And the reason why you saw the Tigers do this last year, and that's because they have a really good pitching coach. So if you get to spend every day with him at the majors, they did this with Matt Manning, Casey Mize, Tarek Skubal. They're going to take their lumps in the beginning, but spending every day with that pitching coach, in particular, in this case, Derek Johnson, is better in the long run. Now, it doesn't work for every player or pitcher, but someone with the talent of Hunter Green, I kind of like the move.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't really think about that, but there's really no, like, usually if you're going to be a competitive team, you've got veterans in AAA, several guys with big league time that could kind of teach him how to be a big leaguer. But that's really not that option this year in Louisville. And you know what? They figured they're going to have him around for a while, so might as well use this year as a true rookie year to learn.
Yeah, I'm stoked, man. I'm really excited about it. And then, though not confirmed, like we have there in the graphic, it looks like Nick Lodolo could be making the getaway day start against the Guardians. And if that's the case, I will 1,000% be a GABP. So I'll take that day off work and go hang out. So if you guys are there, holla at your boy. Yeah, so we did have a quick question on the rotation, but Nick, did you want to chime in on anything? Do you want to add anything before we got to the question, or?
Yeah, sure. So one real quick point about the Connor Phillips, just to kind of add on to that. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a lottery ticket, but you need a bunch of lottery tickets when you're having pitchers of that type of pitcher, so getting Phillips and getting Chase Petty, you need to just to be accumulating as many of these guys as they can. So while I know a lot of people didn't like the Jesse Winker trade, and time will tell, really, depending on how healthy and everything he's able to stay over the next couple of years. The Reds are definitely acquiring a lot of young, talented arms, and the more of those, the better, because that's what's gonna help sustain the future. On the rotation, I mean, I guess my first thought is big start for Tyler Mahle on opening day, just because of kind of what's behind him. It's a very exciting group, but you saw with Vladimir Gutierrez. I mean, these are pretty much all guys that could have just disaster starts. I mean, they're going to have some at some point this year. So Feels like a big start for Tyler Mahle. Now I'll say this: Reds will lose opening day and then win the next 3. That's typically what happens when we think like that. But feels like a big start for Mahle. I would have liked to seen Green start on opening day in Cincinnati, but I guess I kind of understand maybe why they didn't. It feels obviously Cleveland has a lesser lineup than Atlanta, but there's a lot of pressure in that game for Green, so it might be a lot less pressure pitching in that Sunday game, kind of not having all that opening day pressure. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna see right away, and I'm definitely really excited about seeing Mahle on opening day for sure.
Yeah, not to mention that if his second start being Hunter Green, if things stand as they are, will be in LA. The California kid gets to go home and pitch in front of his hometown, so that'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh. So I'll go read this out. Kyle RX or else. Who logs more innings this season, the Bigs, Green or Lodolo?
I would go with Green off the bat, considering it's the easy answer. He's the one currently who's set to log innings right off the bat. I think both will be on, somewhat of an inning count. And again, I'm going to touch back on the Tigers just because they have an elite pitching coach, Chris Fetter, and they have young pitchers, and we saw this with them. If you all remember, Casey Mize was tearing up the Reds, just carving them up, and then got pulled from the game. And he had 3 inning outings where he was excellent because it was all predetermined. Now, that was a rebuilding team, but that's one way to keep your inning count the same. But I think Lodolo and Green will be on a similar inning count, but I'll side with Green just because he's on the roster.
Yeah, I would say Lodolo probably ends up with like a lower ERA, but yeah, I mean, definitely I think Green's going to pitch more innings. Just the numbers are there, and I mean, Lodolo has had some more injury history, so yeah, I definitely think Green throws more innings.
Yeah, I'll go with Green as well. I just think, kind of piggyback what Clay said. He's listed to be on the opening day roster for sure. So, yeah, I'll stick with Hunter. Yeah, so basically asked thoughts on Green having to face Atlanta and Los Angeles in the road starts career. Feels like him starting on the road might be even better for his nerves. I think I also like the fact that for a rookie making their first couple starts, they're in bigger ballparks too. I know, especially, we talked about this quite a bit last season with Hunter Green. You'd watch a AAA Louisville game, he'd throw 5 innings, give up 2 runs, and have like 9 strikeouts. But those two runs were solo shots. So maybe now kind of pitching in a bigger park, kind of get more comfortable on the major league level. We know he has the stuff, and I think I think this could be good for him. Also, I think it's probably good for the Reds to build that anticipation for the homestand against the Cardinals when they come back if he pitches against the beloved Albert Pujols. So
yeah, I just think it would have been really tough for him to pitch, like that opening day, and you don't have enough days off to have him start maybe that second game. So you needed a pitcher between there. So, yeah, I think it's just kind of the math more than anything. I think it would have been great to like have him like that Johnny Cueto, like that third game, day game would have been great if the Reds were opening at home. But since that's not an option, I see why they did what they did.
yeah, and then have they given like this is always just like an estimation, I know, but have they given like a thought process on when Mike Minor could be back on the roster?
They said both of them are like tossing and things like that. So it's possible that they're just buying time with the way they kind of set up this rotation, with skipping the 5th starter, that they think that either Castillo or Minor can be back at that Dodgers series, because they would need him towards I think that's Saturday. So I mean, it's possible that is, but seeing that it's March 30th and neither guy has like thrown any sort of inning, it still seems pretty quick. I don't know, Carlos, how quick do you think you could ramp up if you haven't really thrown? How long do you think it would take you to get ready?
I mean, it just depends on what they've been doing. I mean, they could be throwing in the backfields, and we don't know yet. They could be throwing bullpens in the batting cage. I don't know. It's tough to tell, but if it's they haven't thrown, and we haven't had any reports of Lewis throwing, right, Luis? I mean, it's going to take him a full month to get ready.
Yeah.
He hasn't thrown any innings, he's got to, build up to at least 4 innings, which is going to, that's going to take him all of a month to do that.
Yeah, all signs to me point to Lodolo getting a start here. It doesn't seem like either one of those guys will get ready. Seems like just because he's the guy that's not on the 40-man, they're holding off as long as possible before they have to add, just because there could be another injury. You hate to cut a guy off the 40-man, and then 2 days later someone gets hurt. And like, oh, we actually could have kept that guy on the roster and not had to lose. You want to keep as many players as you can at this point in the year, even if they're not great players, just because it's a long season. You don't want to be losing guys and then having to go find someone else, and all the headache that comes with that. So
yeah, I think those guys have to be throwing, because the way that they're making it sound is like they're not going to miss too much time. Like, from what I'm getting, they're going to miss 1, maybe 2 starts. So they've got to be throwing, their bullpen sessions or whatever, going for longer amounts. But
he took a picture with the Cincinnati Enquirer, so he's there.
So Resin4 asks, have we seen a picture of Mike Minor holding up a recent newspaper? So that's pretty funny. I like it. Well, I guess with all these new acquisitions the Reds have had, we've obviously Papsu Monday, my guy. Mike Minor rested today and still gave up 2 dingers. Man.
Tough crowd.
But
I'll still
drink a PBR next Wednesday for you. So obviously the news comes out, was it Monday or this week? Donovan Solano got hurt, hurt his hamstring, and we'll be starting the season on the IL. Looks like David Bell said 2 to 4 weeks and not ready for opening day on the pregame show today. So obviously this was a guy the Reds were really game planning for. That's when they signed him. Obviously that sucks to have him out for a little bit, and kind of opens up that door a little bit more for some roster spots. So I saw Charlie Goldsmith, who's been on the show, a good friend of the program, said that he expects that Aristides Aquino will get the opening day start as a designated hitter. And I guess now that kind of opens that door a little more, which truthfully, I don't hate that, in all honesty. But obviously, this is one of the Reds' big free agent signings with the lockout ending. So obviously this is a tough pill to swallow to see him go for a little bit.
Yeah, this is a huge loss against left-handed pitching. I mean, he was, brought in to kind of be that big, high contact bat against left-handed pitching where the Reds really struggled last year. I think Aquino was going to start either way, whether Solano was in the lineup or not, just because there's not enough right-handed bats. And the Reds' left-handed bats are all pretty terrible against left-handed pitching. Mike Moustakas might be the only one that's actually not that terrible throughout the last 5 years. So I think Aquino was going to start either way. I get why people want to give up on Aquino, but look at the options against left-handed pitching and look at their career numbers. And I mean, unless they're going to go get someone else, I don't see how Aquino's not in the lineup against left-handed pitching right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Only if the Reds had a switch hitting infielder who could potentially play, I don't know, like Alejo Lopez, but he was sent down to the minors only to post a absolute bomb that he hit off Shane Bieber in a backfield game. I tweeted that out. I just love, the day after he gets sent down, here's a video of me just going yard off of a top pitcher. But Solano is going to be a big miss. I don't expect him to, be on everyone's fantasy rosters or anything. He's not that type of player, but he fills a hole that the Reds have. And with him out, that hole just gets bigger and bigger, especially once you talk about Barrero being out as well. So hopefully he's back sooner than later.
I love that I just see Carlos over there just laughing.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about, but
somebody's hole getting bigger and bigger. That's all I heard.
Heyo.
Phrasing. Yeah. So Nick
not much of a transition for that.
Moving on. Sorry, kids. Little Kirby's go to bed.
I don't hear anyone upstairs running around, so I think I'm good.
Yeah, there you go. So kind of looking at so with the injuries and everything like that, obviously, let's kind of take a look real quick. The projected position battles we have now. So they kind of did a really good job putting this together. As far as like the guys that are locks, we have there in the hunt. You have Colin Moran, those 2 errors at third base the other day were brutal. Max Schrock, who seems to be getting a lot of momentum with the fan base more and more as the season goes on. Jake Fraley, Aristides Aquino, and Shogo Akiyama. And then in the hunt, as far as non-roster invites, we have Andrew Knapp as for backup catcher, Aramis Garcia, and Brandon Drury. So talking about this real quick, I don't know. I really like Matt Schrock. I know the fan base is really starting to like him a lot. There's some people who are really starting to believe in him more than they believe in Colin Moran. And I actually like the Colin Moran signing. I don't know if I really want him playing third base per se in situations, but I just see Clay and Carlos both shake their heads as I say that. But, designated hitter, Joey gets an off day at first base. He goes there and plays a little bit. I don't know. I don't hate it. Those 2 errors at third base that he had the other day on one play told me everything I needed to know about him as a defender. So,
Yeah, and when I saw that signing, I knew that he had played third base in the past. And when I saw the signing, I thought, okay, I like this pickup as a backup for first baseman. And then I thought, if they try to play him at first base, everyone's going to hate this player. And you fast forward a week, and everyone wants him off the team. I think he's a fine player. There's a reason why he was available and cheap, and why the Pirates decided not to bring him back. Max Schrock is just going to be one of those guys. Each year there's somebody, and the fans love him more than what he already is. He hits the ball pretty hard. He can play some, a few different positions, and he's a fine player. He's the type of player, and there's a reason he's been in so many organizations and kind of bounced up and down. It's just that's the type of profile that he has. If he makes the roster, I'm not going to be upset or overly excited either. I think he's just okay.
he is the new Adam Rosales, isn't he?
Adam Rosales is, oh man,
That's the second time we've mentioned Adam Rosales in 2022.
I'm a big Adam Rosales guy. I love him. But no, he put together a good career. Like, he played much longer than anyone realizes. In the hunt, sorry, I'm reading Jake Fraley. I think he's a lock.
I think he's a lock too. I was just basing off kind of what we've heard, and I had to put someone in the hunt.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say Jake Fraley is a lock for me. We talk about we kind of touched on Aquino, and Shogo is the one that I want to spend a little bit more time with. He's due money. What is it? $8 million this year. Last week I was doing a tweet a player name, add me, and I'll tweet an interesting stat, and someone said Shogo, so I immediately went to launch angle. His launch angle is under 2 degrees, which is directly into home plate almost like every single time. And then I said, okay, what's the highest exit velocity? It was 108. So I found the video, straight into the ground for a double play. And that's just kind of the Shogo Akiyama thing, man. I mean, he is what he is. It's a bad signing. It's one of the worst that we've had in recent memory. And I can understand why they keep him on the roster, just because he can play defense and you've invested in him. But at the end of the day, like, if they saw somebody, to me, there's just like no one jumping out that's like, oh, they have to make the roster and Shogo has to go. So I think he makes the roster, even though cutting him is probably, not going to cost you any games this year. In the hunt, Garcia is the only one I want to sniff the roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think the in the hunt that are in the active 40 man, I think all those players are easily in, except maybe Shogo.
Yeah, so I want to clarify. In the hunt for the non-roster invitee. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think Moran's a lock. I think Moran's fine. I don't know why everyone hates him. I mean, he's a bench bat that has like a 109 weighted runs created plus in his career against right-handed pitching. Like, he's a fine hitter against right-handed pitching.
And he's a Tar Heel. Things are good to be a Tar Heel right now.
Yeah, he's fine. When he hits 3 home runs in the first week, everyone will love him. So calm down. Jake Fraley, I love Jake Fraley. I think he's going to have a big season. I think he's going to really be a fan favorite, just the way he plays. I don't know what they'll do with Shogo. The one thing I do want, I'm curious your guys' take. I know everyone was kind of freaking out about TJ Friedl getting sent down. How much playing time would TJ Friedl have got on the big league roster? I mean, he would have been like the last guy on the roster. He's not going to pinch hit for Naquin, or like, because he's another left-handed bat. I feel like that last roster spot is not going to play at all. Like, it's going to be, I don't know how that helps him long term at all. And Friedel's maybe a guy that, if you have a couple injuries, is probably a guy that you have to throw in center field every day, right? It's like,
yeah,
you kind of want to keep him. I don't know. I would think getting kind of everyday at bat. So I didn't have an issue with them sending him down.
No, I'm on the same wavelength. I think for him, it's all about just getting him ABs and getting him more and more comfortable at the plate. I like him. I think he's a good ball player, and I think he definitely has a spot in the organization. But, look, we know who our center fielder is going to be, and we know his history. So, unfortunately, TJ Friedl kind of fits that role that if, history has a tendency to repeat itself and old Nick Senzel's out on the IL again, good chance that's TJ Friedl that comes up. I hope not, because I've really liked what I've seen from Nick Senzel in spring training. But, I think you got to look at it that way, that he's probably, Nick said, the last bat roster spot probably doesn't play much, but he's probably the first call up if they need a bat.
Yeah, I mean, I wish they had another right-handed bat that could be that last spot, because that could actually have some value, and you could actually maybe pinch hit for Naquin. But pinch hitting Naquin with Friedl, like, what good is that, right? I mean, like that's the kind of player you need, is someone to pinch it for Naquin or Fraley against the left-handed pitching, and I just don't see Friedl being an upgrade there. So I don't really know when he would have played.
This is also the time of the year that players get released or DFA'd that some fan bases don't see coming, and there very well could be somebody who comes available. And I mean, of the list of the in the hunt but on the active 40 man, I mean, Jake Fraley's not going anywhere. I guess Aquino isn't, but I mean the other guys could easily be moved on from. I like Max Schrock, but like, if somebody becomes available who's kind of surprising, I could see the Reds picking them up right before opening day.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to like 2007, that's when they got Scott Hatterberg, and that ended up being really good for them until Joey was ready to play full-time Major League ball.
Scooter as well.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Dan Straley, Alfredo Simon. I mean, these were some really quality players that the Reds were able to get at the last minute. So, yeah, I mean, if there's any sort of decent right-hand bat, please go grab him. That is what the Reds need. The Reds need a lesser right-handed bat than they need Max Schrock. And I'm sorry if that makes people mad, but the Reds just don't have enough right-handed bats. The Reds don't need to be giving at bats to Tyler Naquin, who I'm a huge fan of in the 8th inning when they're down 2 runs and there's 2 outs. Like, they need a right-handed bat to bring in, because Naquin just doesn't hit left-handed pitching at all.
Yeah, I do see in the chat a lot of people are mentioning Josh Van Meter since he got DFA'd by Arizona. I know it's a left-handed bat, but
wasn't he terrible in Arizona?
He homered off Amir Garrett. Let's never forget.
I think that was like his only hit of the year.
Josh Van Meter hit the home run in, I think, the last game of the year to secure the number 2 instead of number 1 overall pick. So I doubt Arizona likes Josh Van Meter.
I mean, I love you guys, but Josh Van Meter has a 664 career OPS. Like, why do we hate Colin Moran?
Josh Van Meter is the classic example. He was not even invited to camp. He was a minor league camp guy, had a really good 2019. A lot of times when you see prospects come up when they're a little bit older, that kind of window shrinks of their production. The reason why they're better than a lot of these guys is, it's a joke. The whole thing's a joke.
Okay.
I'm trying to get analytical about a joke, but the reason why they're better than a lot of guys.
Chat, guys.
I was I was wondering why we hated Colin Moran and we like Josh Van Meter, because that was really throwing me off. I was just like, what am I missing here?
If you want to bring Josh Van Meter in and play him in Louisville, that's fine. But you know, but at the end of the day, these bench spots at this point of the year do get shuffled around. So it would not be surprising if someone else is brought in.
Yeah. So let's look real quick before we move on. And, again, make sure we put the sarcasm font next time in the chat, guys, if you don't mind. But Nick's been doing throughout the offseason the updated his lineup projections and predictions. And this is where we're at now with all the injuries and latest news. And you have Joey hitting 4th, which I don't disagree with. But throughout the spring, we've seen him in a few games hitting 2nd. So what's your thought process there?
Well, I just saw Naquin hitting 2nd there the other day. And then before Naquin got hurt at the end of last year, Naquin was hitting 2nd and Votto was 4th. So I definitely think Bell's going to want to split the lefties up as much as he can throughout the lineup, especially since the Reds at this point have like really no platoon options. I mean, against left-handed pitching, Aristides Aquino is the only decent hitter against left-handed pitching that's going to be on your bench. So you're going to want to split these guys up as much as possible so you're not setting up a really super easy inning for, your opponent's bullpen. And the Braves have a couple lefties. So, that could really, hurt you late in the game. So I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm throwing out there. It'll be interesting to see what they look like. I really think Brandon Drury is probably going to find his way on this roster just with the moves that I've seen and kind of the fact that he's still on the roster and some other guys have been cut makes me think that he's got a real chance of breaking camp. But I hope that they, find one of these waiver wires at the last minute and can bring just someone in that hits left-handed pitching. Even league average would just be huge for this team.
Yeah, Brandon Drury being on a opening day roster is nightmare fuel for me. In terms of the batting order, I'm so bad at, trying to guess that type of stuff. I think Tommy Pham could be batting higher just because of his on-base abilities. It would be cool. I mean, I know it's not the best roster construction, but see him in India or India in the leadoff and Pham in 2 just because they both work counts so well. Jake Fraley at the bottom. Man, I could see him bumped up a little bit, not much, maybe above Senzel. But, I mean, minor changes, if that. But, yeah, I mean, Brandon Drury, if he's starting against a lefty, and that's just a disaster. There's going to be plenty of options that are getting DFA'd that they should pick up. There's players in the system that I would play other than him. He was part of this team that when the Mets had 94 injuries last year, they picked him up, and he just hasn't been very good since I think he was like okay one year, and like Arizona, I think he's bounced around New York or something a few different times. So yeah, I'm Toronto as well. I'm just out on him completely.
Clay Carlos, Tim, I'm curious. Like, I think they have to go right, left, right throughout the lineup, right? Because Aquino is the only bat that they have against left-handed pitching that's remotely decent. So you can't have 2 lefties batting back to back in this lineup, right?
I mean, I don't think it's really that big of a deal if you have a couple of them going back to back, but they're gonna struggle against left-handed pitching, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it just feels like if you split them up, you at least make sure every reliever has to face one right-handed batter if you have them split up, and I would think that's kind of what the Reds want with kind of where they're at now with no Solano and no Barrero, because it's rough versus left-handed pitching.
And I get that. I undervalue that more than most people do. And I know that oftentimes it is, that way, and you're right, Nick. But to me, it's like I'd rather have my best players getting the most at-bats. Now, I'm not going to go 4 lefties in a row or anything, but if it came down to the end of the game and someone's at the bottom of the order just because they wanted to split up the right left and they don't get an at bat. At the end of the day, if you're batting 8th or 9th, you're going to be missing out on quite a big chunk of at bats compared to the people batting towards the top. Like personally, I'd rather have Tommy Pham than Naquin up at the top, but I get you're not going 3 righties in a row. Maybe switch Votto and Stevenson, or you play around with it. But when it comes to me, it's all about, okay, the people at the top are going to get the most at bats. Who do I want that to be within reason?
I'd rather have Joey Votto batting second. Let me clarify. This was just based
Same.
on what I've seen. I'm team Votto second for sure. Just basing off what I've seen of late.
Is there any possibility Nick Senzel could play third base against left-handed pitching? Is there another at bat they could put in the outfield in that circumstance?
I don't think they're moving him. I think they're sticking him in center field. They're not gonna. They don't. And I don't want this to come off wrong, but I don't think they want any excuses. And I'm not saying Senzel's making excuses, but I don't think they want that to be an option. I think they say you're playing center field every day. We're not messing with you. And again, I have no problem with what they did before. I think you need to do that for a lot of players. I think you need to increase these guys' value, especially, if you're not going to be spending $200 million, you've got to maximize all your players. But for Senzel, I'm fine with it. Stick him in center field. Let's not mess with it. Let's just see what he has and not have any sort of even excuses as a possibility. And again, not saying he would, but just,
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I get you. I just figured I'd throw it out there. Yeah, but with that being said too, obviously we kind of have that, but the bullpen is obviously something we're still figuring out as well. And there's just some names here, so kind of the same situation. You see the locks on the side there. Ryan Hendricks, who got some action last year for the major league team, in that crazy run of back and forths of guys who were 87,000 people maybe it felt like at times through games for them. And then in the hunt you have Buck Farmer, which that's a baseball name. Trey Wingenter, Daniel Duarte, and Alexis Diaz. When you guys look at this, what are kind of your thoughts as far as what we see from the bullpen?
So the bullpen, I mean, it's going to be fun. Like there's some fun players in this bullpen. Luis Cessa, Tony Santillan, Hunter Strickland is one of those guys who's kind of bounced around but been like pretty damn successful at times. Art Warren looked good. Justin Wilson. Do you mind pulling up that list again? Sorry. What are y'all doing here? Cut me off from my list. Justin Wilson that doesn't move the needle for me. And Dari Moreta is going to be fun to watch as well. Ryan Hendricks, man, he does have some nasty movement. Finding the zone's just so difficult for him. In terms of the non-roster guys, Alexis Diaz, I thought was on the 40-man. But Diaz and Duarte are on the 40-man, but Diaz is awesome. I really like him a lot. I think he's 25 years old. He's going to pitch with the Reds this year. When you watched him in Double-A last year, I mean, this guy was awesome. And you've seen him at times. He pitched today some, and you've seen him at times this spring. Struck out Brennan Davis, who is a top prospect in all of the MLB. He's the guy who I'm really keeping a watch on.
He said the MLB. -1 play.
-1. Sorry. I was about to say the show. Then I was like, what am I doing playing the video?
It does
game
come
here?
out next week for what it's worth.
So, yeah, in terms of the people who are listed under non-roster invitees, Diaz is the only one I'm really interested in. Duarte, I'm not very high on, or the other guys, especially Buck Farmer.
Duarte and Diaz are on the 40-man. Clay, I think I sent this to you earlier and asked you to proofread this, so this is really on you. So
you can imagine how much time I spent on here. I was just flipping through to make sure that picture of me speaking at a conference didn't show up on these slides.
All about the publicity.
We still have time, buddy.
I would assume that they're probably like Farmer and Wingenter. I like Trey. I think he has some potential, but I would assume the guys that are on the 40-man have a massive advantage just because they don't want to be cutting guys at this point in the season if they don't have to. So yeah, I like this bullpen overall. I mean, I like it a lot more when Lucas Sims comes back. My concern is when we're seeing a lot of like 3-4 inning starts is when you're trying to get 6 and 5 innings out of these relievers. That's where I think it's going to be a little bit rough, but every team's dealing with that right now. You know, the Reds are not alone in this. Every team is going to have short starts and have tired bullpens, and so it's going to be a very interesting first month of the season for sure.
Yeah, I know. I know we had a couple questions on this, and I wanted to touch on our guy Joey Ricotta asked about guys who could potentially lead the Reds in saves this year, and obviously with Lucas Sims being out for a little bit, I still suspect it'd be Sims, but I think one of the names he might have mentioned was Art Warren being a possibility, and I don't know if I could see that per se, but I wouldn't hate it if Art Warren ended up taking that role and been pretty good.
I think unless someone like proves their lights out, I think Lucas Sims will probably get the bulk of the saves, just because I feel like on the pecking order, he's so much higher than everyone else. I think the Reds like more closer by committee, but I think they kind of feel like it just causes more of a hassle than it's worth the advantage of. I think a lot of relievers get ticked off about the role, not having a role and things like that. So I think that's kind of where the balance of doing what's, you know, smart analytically versus what players are happy with. You have to kind of weigh that. So I would say Sims leads. I drafted Lucas Sims if it makes you feel any better to throw him right on the IL because I think he'll end up with a lot of saves at the end of the year.
What's a lot? 20?
8.
I don't know, 60 because the Reds are going to win 120 games. I
But
don't
what
know.
about when the Yankees are
25.
tanking and they need to get off Aroldis Chapman's contract? Could he then lead the Reds in
Gross.
saves?
No.
What if they eat majority of the salary like they had to for David Justice?
No.
There's
I want
no way.
nothing to
There's
do with
no
that
way
guy.
the Reds should be spending, you know, like 6, 7, 8 million at the deadline on a reliever. Like
Yeah, if they didn't spend any money,
They need a
last year,
bat. They
there's
need a
no
bat.
way they're spending money this year.
Not with that attitude, guys. Jeez.
No, like I think this bullpen, the way it's set up right now, at its best, everybody pitching at their best is a league average bullpen,
Even with
Like-
Sims?
even with Sims. Yeah, because I mean,
Just wait until you see like what the Cubs have.
well, yeah, that's fine. They don't have to be in the top half. They can be in the bottom half too. But I mean, that's asking a lot of if this guy pitches well, if this guy pitches well, if this guy pitches well, if this guy stays healthy. That's like every single guy, but you know, like Santillan and I forget who and Sessa, and it's not like those guys are borderline all stars. So this is going to be a very average bullpen at best. But who knows? Maybe they can pick up somebody and they can, you know, have a bounce back type of like Luis Sessa did the second half of last year, and you know,
Like
maybe
you?
hold it down for a while and see what happens. But it's gonna, I think it's gonna remind people more of last year's bullpen than it is being a top tier bullpen.
Could they pick you up? Could you go back?
Absolutely not. It'd be way worse.
Why not?
I'm old, man.
I have faith in you. All right, so we did get a really good question from JD Meeks about the kind of a conversation here, and you know, with the Reds last year especially, there was a lot of different guys going in and out. Where he asked, "How many pitchers will the Reds use in 2022?" And I guess Nick, did you do some math on this or something?
Yeah, sorry. I was looking in the comments and I forgot I made a slide on this. Yeah. The option rule is going to make it a little bit different where I don't even know if I necessarily understand the whole rule. Is it 5? Explain it, Clay.
So you can option a player 5 times. So the way you will not have CNL Perez bouncing up and down 24 times like he did last year. It's going to be 5 total times.
And that
I
includes
actually
injury.
think-
That includes injuries. Sorry.
No, like if you were to go on, you know, the injury list, then no.
No, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It's 5 even if they're replacing an injured player.
I'm not entirely sure on that, But regardless, I think that this number could be similar to last year, if not higher, especially with the expanded rosters to begin. You're going to have a couple extra guys throwing, shortened spring training. It just makes sense that there just be more arms. You have to assume that starting rotation is going to change a little bit. Lodolo will get some run. Obviously, Luis Castillo will come back. You're probably going to see at minimum. I mean, it's not that crazy to think Green could struggle out of the gate some, and maybe they think, oh, we should send him back down. I think that rotation could change quite a bit from how it looks when it starts. And then that bullpen has a lot of, kind of like Carlos was saying, some guys are going to get changed in and out. So yeah, this number I could see close to 2021, if not over.
Yeah. I'll push back a little bit on the bullpen though. I think everyone that's going to be in the bullpen to start the year, except whoever like maybe those last two spots are all projected to be above average relievers by Zips. So I don't know. I think they're going to be a little bit better.
Well, the thing that we know about them is relievers are fickle. They bounce up and down. In terms of consistency, there's probably 10 to 15 in the league that are consistent. And a lot of these guys are not on, big money deals, or it's going to be easy to move on from somebody who is not doing well, is what I'm saying. So they don't have, some of them have a track record, but none of them have one that's so strong that, the Reds are going to, it's not like Amir Garrett, who the Reds were not going to move on from last year, even with struggles. There's not that many guys on the list that are going to be here no matter what. So, I mean, moving off one of these players is pretty easy.
Golly, I didn't even think about how frustrating is that now, knowing they just kept Amir on the roster the whole time to do this shit. What a waste of a spot, idiots.
Well, depends if Mike
Dude,
Minor.
They got Mike Minor. Come on.
Mike Minor has an all-star season. It's all going to be worth it.
They could have traded anybody else for Mike Minor.
They could have traded
this podcast for Mike Minor.
They could have traded anyone with $2 million for Mike Minor. That was what was coming back, was the $2 million.
I love you, Mike.
It is underrated that Javi Baez will also continue to face in the same division Amir Garrett this year as well, because Baez is with the Tigers.
He killed him.
There's
the
already
NL.
some
We'll
like beef going. They've already been talking back and forth about it, which I think it's absurd. It's like, okay, Baez strikes out a ton. Like, you're a flawed player, and Amir Garrett really doesn't have much room to speak right now. So it's kind of pathetic, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I like Clay's point too. I mean, the Reds also had Doolittle last year too. So, I mean, they had two guys that, whether you like it or not, I mean, they felt like they were forced to kind of keep them in the bullpen, where pretty much everyone could be shuffled, if they're not doing well. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm the optimistic guy.
I mean, Luis Cessa is the only one that I would say would be surprising if I saw that he was DFA or whatever.
But I would be shocked if Cessa pitched terrible, right? I mean, I feel like Cessa's floor is higher than.
Cessa's the only one that if he was released or sent down, I would be surprised. Everyone else I could see, and it would not shock me at all.
I think him and Santillan are pretty close.
Yeah, Santillan would be my number 2 there, but I could still see him being sent down. He has options, right? So
yeah.
If it went sour, or if they decided they wanted to stretch him out.
I just thought you meant like warranted being sent down. Sorry.
Oh, no. Like Justin Wilson being cut tomorrow, my reaction would be exactly how it is right now. Just
give me your shocked face. Go.
Reading Twitter. Justin Wilson relief. Okay.
Thank you, Justin Wilson, for bringing Luis Cessa.
Justin, thank you so much for your service.
I got real quick shout out my guy Peps Blue Monday again. Said that Mike Minor might be an underrated bullpen guy if things don't work out.
He's a lefty.
Yeah.
He's not getting paid that much money to be a bullpen guy.
Yeah, Carlos is right. He's paid to eat innings, but
if they're holding on to Shogo out there.
I maybe
my boy Shogo, by the way.
Maybe you could. maybe you could see him bouncing back and forth between, maybe going in the bullpen for a couple weeks, because at some point, Green, Lodolo, they're going to be capped, and they're not going to be pitching. Hunter Green is not going to be pitching for the Reds in September unless they shut him down for 2 months or he gets hurt or something.
That's another one we need to put on the board.
Is that a trade prediction from Nick? He's going to be traded by September. You heard it here first. He will not be pitching for the Reds because Nick thinks he's going to be traded.
For prospects.
A prospect.
Chase Petty's brother.
Bring him on. Him and Richard.
What is
Too far?
happening?
Got a NASCAR joke on a baseball show. All right. Let's move real quick to the updated Picada predictions, moving the Reds into second place. You guys thought it was all doom and gloom after these trades, right? Second place by 15 games, but 14. Sorry, 14.
Who wants the over? I'm taking all bets.
I'm taking the over.
Woo! How much you want, Kirby? We'll discuss this offline.
Yeah.
You're taking the over from Picada or for what Bet Online has the over at right now?
That 79 number.
I think the Reds are going to win 83 games. I think they're going to win the exact same amount as last year.
Wait till they sign Trevor Bauer.
Don't even joke about that. Don't.
Where did that come from?
It just felt right.
It did not feel right.
Pete Rose as the assistant hitting coach. We're back.
Well, obviously the Brewers are going to be awesome, as shown here by their projection of 93 wins. And obviously they're really good again. So, and they brought in Andrew McCutchen, a guy that we all talked ourselves into maybe he could play for the Reds next year. So, whatever, Milwaukee, with your fake hot dogs.
And your cool uniforms. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Cool ass uniforms. So let's
I was
take.
pissed they had Woodruff ranked ahead of Burns, the top pitchers. It's bullshit.
Why do you say that?
Spurs won the Cy Young last year.
Trevor Bauer won the Cy Young in 2020. There are people rated above him.
I think it's just probably innings more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of take a look real quick around the division at some lineups. Let's start with the Brew Crew here. Obviously, this team last year was all pitching and no hitting for big stretches of the year. I do like the Andrew McCutchen signing. I think he'll do pretty well there. I will not talk bad about a certain guy in their lineup that plays first base ever again.
I don't think it ever ends. I think it just rolls year over year.
I don't know, man. I would like to say that he'll be excellent.
Let's try it out for a series.
Let's not, because that ends up being a disaster. But obviously Willy Adames, you got to think at some point Christian Yelich. I don't know if he'll ever get back to MVP Christian Yelich, but he's going to probably have a better year. Really got on base at a pretty decent clip last year, even though he didn't hit all that well. But the pitching for this team again, obviously those top three are pretty awesome in the rotation. Their bullpen with Devin Williams and Josh Hader. You can certainly see why people think very highly of this team.
Yeah, I'll keep this to 1 minute for each team, and I'll see what I can do in 1 minute.
Prove it.
Okay, I'm gonna start the timer. Someone started. Ready, go. Okay, ready, go. Andrew McCutchen's on the wrong side of 30. He's also on the wrong side of a platoon. Rowdy Tellez is fine, some power. Hunter Renfroe was a good ad, but kind of up and down years throughout his career. 2 really good years. I don't think he's as good as he is last year. Jace Peterson's replacement level. The bench is terrible. Mike Rousseau they brought over, not excited about him. Tyrone Taylor is going to take a starting spot at some point in time. I like him a lot. That rotation's dirty. And once Aaron Ashby enters that rotation, they just have depth there. And if you get to the 8th inning, Devin Williams, Josh Hader, game over. How long was that? 50 seconds.
That's what she said.
I wish.
My
Take us
only
up, Kirby.
my only point is the Padres were projected to win 96 games last year, so anything's possible.
Yeah,
Next.
that's exactly how I feel about projections.
So the Brewers are going to win 75.
Yeah. The St. Louis Cardinals, who brought back Albert Pujols at 42 years old.
What
I
a
think
weird roster.
I think the first question should be, do you guys feel like he actually finishes the season on the roster, or do you think that he gets DFA'd?
I think he ends the year on the IL,
I could see that.
like a fake IL.
We're just the most important thing is we need to have him just only hit one homer in April. That's it. For me and Clay's side bet, he took over 1.5.
I told you the exact games he
In
hit.
April, he did. If that comes true, woo.
Yeah.
All right, do you want my 1 minute on the Cardinals?
Do it.
Go.
Best defensive team in baseball is going to steal them some games. Dylan Carlson, I know a lot of people don't like him in Reds country. Super solid player. Harrison Bader's a menace in center field, and I think his offensive numbers are going to tick up. He was streaky last year, but good. Tyler O'Neill has the chance to legitimately be the best player in the NL Central. I mean, I think he has that much pop if he can cut down on the strikeouts a little bit. Gold Glover as well. It's just a super solid lineup, 1 through 9. There's no glaring hole to me. The bench could do better. Lars Nootbaar is a lot more than a cool name. He is legit. And I would not be surprised if he starts to take at bats from the one off-season move that they made. Corey Dickerson, who's just a fine player, nothing more. That rotation does not scare me one bit. Adam Wainwright's good, but at some point the age catches up. The rest of them, I mean, Steven Matz is fine for what he is. And the bullpen has a lot of gas and a lot of control issues.
Do we know when Jack Flaherty is supposed to be back?
Mid-May, I think is what I read, but I mean, he's kind of one of those guys that's been hurt for a long
Centuries.
time now, and it's just, going to be one of those things, okay, believe that he's back when he's back, right? I mean, kind of like we've seen with other guys in the past. I like their lineup 1 through 9. I mean, I think they got, outside of maybe, DeYoung, I mean, I think they got all solid players, but it seems not a great hitting team against right-handed pitching. They have a lot of left-handed mashers, but they're pretty average, maybe below average. Like Clay said, they'll make up for a lot with it on the defensive end, but I think, is that rotation right now better than what the Reds were throwing out there 1 through 5 if Lodolo's out there?
I don't think so. But I
It's
can't
definitely not better
talk
if
bad
it's
about teams
Castillo.
ever again.
I don't know. I mean, the Cardinals, I think everyone thinks they're good. I think they're kind of mediocre. I mean, I don't know.
Off of that point, being mediocre, I think them versus the Reds is going to be the best division series all year.
Yeah.
Because
versus
the
mid.
Brewers, I don't think the Reds are going to, on paper, aren't going to do very well against them. The Cubs series, sorry, Joey, whatever. But this Cardinals one that matches up really well for the Reds, like Nick was talking about. Like the Cubs, I really don't know, but this on paper, struggle against right-handed hitting or pitching. They've got a pretty decent lineup still, but that kind of neutralizes it. But then their starting pitching is, it's nothing to hold up your breath about.
Yeah, I don't really love the bullpen.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
It's
A lot of gas.
very similar to the Reds team.
Yeah.
As far as I think what the numbers will be like from your everyday lineup, from your rotation, and then from your bullpen. Not, the age or anything like that, but I'm just thinking like the final numbers. They all seem pretty even.
They're a team like the Reds. Like, I mean, you can look at it and go, oh, yeah, I see a lot of optimistic things, or you can look at it pessimistic. Oh, I see a lot of pessimistic. I mean, I think Carlos nailed it. I think they're way more similar than I think a lot of people think. I think a lot of people thought the Cardinals were, just so much ahead of the Reds. And I don't know.
They do have the best fans in baseball, is what I'm told.
Is that Twitter account still around? The one that's retweets the very awkward, uncomfortable things Cardinals fans put on Twitter?
Yes.
It is? Okay. Yeah. That's, if you ever need a good laugh when the Cardinals lose a game, there you go. All right. So with that being said, let's check out. Are we checking out the Cubbies next? Yeah, the Cubbies. Joey's here, so I guess we gotta talk about the Cubbies. All right. So I remember Frank Swindell kind of came on pretty nice last year after the Rizzo trade. And then obviously everyone there is excited. I don't blame him about Saya Suzuki, bringing in Marcus Stroman. Obviously Wade Miley's there. I you guys would know this better than me, obviously, but I kind of do like their first four in the rotation is pretty nice. I don't think it's terrible by any means. I don't love the bench, though. Clint Frazier and Nico Horner come off the bench. This kind of make me rethink that. Jason Hayward is 33 going on 64. It feels like at times, but I don't know, man. I feel like obviously the Cubs, they unloaded a ton of guys last year. So we kind of expect no what there is, but Saya Suzuki, I know a lot of people are very excited about him. So hope the Cubs fans get what they want out of him.
Can I have 2 minutes?
Absolutely not. You said one.
The
Nine-
Cubs roster construction has been
90 seconds. 90 seconds.
This is a very strange roster to me. Suzuki's swing is so pretty, and I could see him being a really, really good player. I like Ian Happ, and he came on strong last year. He's just streaky. Contreras is solid. Frank Schwindel and Patrick Wisdom both had great years. Both are kind of 30 years old and rookies. Those players typically who bounce around waivers don't put together awesome careers. I could see going either way with them. Rafael or Ortega, like mediocre player to me. Jason Hayward hasn't been good for a while, and Jordan Simmons will help them some on defense, not much more. Nick Madrigal is an old school player's dream. No power whatsoever, but I like him. Good, bad. The thing about them is they have so many like middle infield types. Villar's a good player, and I could see him getting more at bats than what's probably projected. And Clint Frazier is a guy that we all wanted on the Reds for a point in time for the same reasons. I don't know what to think of this rotation. Drew Smiley's not good. He'll eat innings. Alec Mills, mediocre to me. Wade Miley, everyone cover your ears, will not be the Wade Miley of 2021. I'm just not the biggest Wade Miley believer at 35 years old. And once that wind is blowing out, buddy, those balls will be flying. There's another one for you, Carlos. Hendricks throws soft. I like him. And Stroman was a good addition. I like him too. The bullpen just scares me. Michael Givens, we saw him. We know him. And Rowan Wick is really good. And I would not be surprised if Rowan Wick ends up being their closer. Or do they have him as closer already? I don't know. But other than that, there's just a lot of yikes to me. Jesse Sanchez, retire, buddy. The others, I mean, we've seen these players. Daniel Norris doesn't do it for me. This is a strange roster, kind of in between a rebuild and not rebuilding. But overall, I don't see this being better than the Reds. That was more than 2 minutes.
I would say the Cubs have a lot of really nice pieces. I mean, that you can look up and down the roster and say, well, like that guy, like that guy, like that guy. It's not like a bunch of, terrible players. I think if everything went right for them, I think they maybe have the upside to finish second in the division if everything went right. But I could also see them competing with the Pirates if everything goes wrong, for the bottom of the division. So I think they have the most variance in the division one way or the other. I would say the Reds are probably second in variance one way or the other. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that rotation, like I could see that rotation being terrible. And, I could also see, maybe some of those guys, are able to have some of their better seasons and, they're pretty decent. I don't know. They're kind of I'm very interested to see what their record is like at the end of April, because I could see them starting off like 18-12 and everyone getting excited in Chicago, and I could also see them starting out 8-20 or whatever. I could really see it going two different ways.
Yeah, I could too. So lastly, we have beloved
Glaze Pirates.
How are they projected to win 66 games?
No slander on the Buccos
They
there,
play the
buddy.
Reds, the Cardinals.
Oh,
and the
believe
Cubs
me, I got plenty of
often.
time to slander the Buccos.
Okay. So the Pirates. Hear
Anthony
me out.
Alford's batting 5th.
Hear me out. First of all, I don't know what's going on with this projected lineup, but Daniel Vogelbach went deep yesterday in a spring training game. So, I mean, they got that going for them. This outfield is miserable. Obviously, Brian Reynolds is legit. But, man, if Anthony Alford's really your starting outfielder, like, that's just bad. Ben Gamel had a good year. He's a fine piece. Cole Tucker is awful. Kevin Newman cannot hit. Roberto Perez does not
Can't
move
hit.
the needle. Yoshi and Daniel Vogelbach were picked up over Colin Moran. That's just a bunch of mediocre guys who, I mean, they said we're going to bring a first baseman and a DH. They're just going to switch off first base and DH. They're both going to hit bombs and do nothing else. Brian Hayes had kind of a down year last year, but if he broke out this year, that would not surprise me at all. Michael Chavez is kind of the guy who I think could start stealing some at bats. But in reality, this roster that we're looking around right now is not including a lot of their prospects that are going to get called up and actually make an impact.
Here we go. Same old, same old. Pirates are going
Oh.
to call guys up, and they're going to turn it around, and they're not going to trade those guys in 3 years. And
Okay, so let's
Sound
talk
like you're
about their
talking about the
rotation.
Reds, Tim.
This rotation is young and a lot of former prospects that have not panned out. Mitch Keller is throwing like 100 right now, but he also just got kind of shelled. I think he'll be better than he has been. That's the only guy who I'm looking at. And him and JD Brubaker are the only ones that I'm seeing any type of upside with. And David Bednar is sick. He's going to be their closer. He's going to be awesome. But who cares if you have a good closer when you only are going to be in a situation to save 12 games a year? Heath Embry's on the roster.
yeah, but
We all know he kills the Dodgers. So anytime they play the Dodgers, man, Heath needs to pitch. Other than that, oh my gosh, there's just it's bad.
Is their 7 through 9 in the projected lineup the worst 7 through 9 in the history of Major League Baseball? Like offensively?
Man, it is a lineup that is, and I'm higher on the Pirates than most people, as you all heard me talk about them earlier this winter, in terms of just like the organization. But I mean, this
Players
lineup
like
is
I
truly
hate him.
embarrassing. It's just bad. And if I was a fan, this is the type of stuff that Reds Twitter, if we had this lineup, the meltdown would totally be. I'd be melting down too. I mean, this is so bad, especially once they trade, Kevin Newman and Brian Reynolds. But I have a feeling next year's lineup is going to look a lot more enticing than this year's. Hell, in July, it's going to look a lot more enticing than it is right now.
whatever.
That's a rough roster, man. That's
At least we're not the Pirates.
Yeah. Thank God you play them 19 games a year, right?
I will say one thing. I'm writing a piece kind of previewing this division, and this has a chance to be the worst division in baseball. It is not exciting.
hell yeah.
There's
Hell
just
yeah.
not a lot to get excited about this division.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be doing something that will be announced soon with this particular division. And let's just say I'm excited about it, but at the same time, it's going to be a struggle.
So you're saying the Brewers could win this division with like 84 wins?
Yeah, but I'm also saying, the Reds are going to be playing some really bad teams a lot.
Yep.
Not in April.
Not in
Not in
April.
April.
Oh my God, that
You
April.
get through April, you got a shot.
Whoever
You're
gets out of this division, like let's just say somehow a team that's not named the Brewers makes it out of the division into the playoffs, it's going to be an ugly series.
Yeah.
They're short series. Anything can happen.
So, yeah, as we show here to start the season in April and May, the Reds are, you get through April, man. So Obviously, got 4 defending world champions. You got the Guardians for 2. You go to LA and San Diego for your first West Coast road trip. In the second and third week of the season, come home for the Cardinals, come home for the Padres, end the year with the Padres early. It's kind of surprising. And then go out and see old Chris Bryant and the Rockies. Go see the Brewer Crew. I mean, that first month is pretty obviously nerve-wracking. I feel like if the Reds come out of there with like 8 wins, you feel pretty good about the month.
Let's keep one thing in perspective, and this is both for each opponent and the Reds. This is not going to be prime LA Dodgers either. Like, it's not going to be prime Reds. They're ramping up still, spring training short, expanded rosters, yada yada. We're not getting the best Dodgers team, and they're not getting the best Reds team either, which just leaves more room for who knows what type of crazy. I'm not saying that they're going to win. I'm just saying, getting some of these out of the way early is not terrible. I think it's more of a coin flip than if the Reds played them. When a less talented team plays a more talented team and both teams are kind of scattered in a way that maybe they're not prepared, it's going to increase the chance of the less talented team to win.
Chaos.
Yes.
We want chaos.
What?
We want Heath Hembry, 10th inning chaos in Dodger Stadium. No, I mean, you definitely would rather play 6 games against the Padres without Tatis. I mean, they're a totally different team with Tatis in the lineup.
I think the most important takeaway from the April schedule is 2 late night Red shows will be following a San Diego Padres game, which means Carlos is going to be acting up regardless.
It's either going to be this side or it's going to be this side. My question is it still cold in Colorado at the end of April, beginning of May?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it. I don't like the cold.
You might see
That's
some snow.
That's a sneaky tough series playing in Colorado is never easy. They were really good at home last year, and they've added some
Chris
decent
Bryant?
pieces.
I mean,
yeah, that's
he might hit
Anybody wanna
40
go to
home runs.
Colorado?
And
give me to May 6th within a couple games of 500, and I'll be
against
feeling
Pittsburgh
good.
Don't start it, Nick.
Nick, should I come up and see you in the middle of May and we can do a show from your house after the Guardians games?
Let's do it. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Yeah.
I might go to Pittsburgh too.
You can
I
do
hate
better.
I hate their back-to-back series. That's kind of annoying.
Yeah. I could probably make it up there for one of those.
What would you rather have, 2 rough weeks at home for making up for leaving, or just 1 week that you have to make up for leaving for, once in a week?
Well, I don't leave. I mean, they're all within driving distance, all those games. I'm in
Oh,
between.
you wouldn't spend the night?
No, I'm in between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Pittsburgh's only 2.5 hours from me. I can go, like a Sunday game, I can go and come back in a day.
Nice.
So it kind of stinks like the Sunday, that 105 game would be a nice, but then, and I'm an hour away from Cleveland, so it really kind of wish they were spread out a little bit.
Just meet me in Colorado, Nick. We'll have a good time, buddy.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
absolutely.
That'll be a tough sell. Carlos in Colorado.
Just say I'm going with Carlos to Colorado.
Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. So then if we go real quick before we get out of here, check out the remaining spring training schedule. So tomorrow, obviously, you got the White Sox. You got the Angels on Friday. Maybe we see old friends Michael Lorenz and Archie Bradley and Raisel Iglesias all in that bullpen. Who knows? Then you have the battle for Carlos Guevara on Saturday. You have Arizona and you end spring training. Maybe seeing old pals Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez, but that being the last spring training game, I doubt they get at-bats. Who knows?
It's super unfortunate there's only one remaining game on TV. Like, what's going on with that? I mean, I can put on every, NKU baseball game. Like, why do we only get a couple Major League Baseball spring training games? Like,
do we have time for my solution to that?
Yes, I need to hear it.
The solution is this. You contact Arizona State or whatever close college to spring training, and you provide the equipment, and you have the students in broadcast journalism do it. Therefore, it streams for free. It's not great quality, but it gets them valuable experience, and it gets the games on TV. It's a win-win. They did this in the Big Ten with all the minor sports. It was called Big Ten Student. The students do it. It's a shitty product, but you
Sounds
get
like
to
ESPN
watch
Plus.
the game.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like ESPN Plus with like their like small college basketball.
I do not watch ESPN small college basketball, but I can only imagine what.
Like the baseball, there's like the screen's going like this the entire time from center field.
Buddy, you
Beat
should
no
watch.
screen.
You should watch these students try to do hockey. The camera, it's unbelievable. You have no idea where the puck is.
Are they like shooting like on a GoPro?
No, it's legit equipment. That's the thing. The MLB would provide legit equipment, and these students get really valuable experience. It just makes too much sense for it to actually happen.
I was curious where you're gonna go with that. Once you said Arizona State, because you remember like the Red Sox would always play like an exhibition against Boston College in spring
Mhm.
training. I was like, are we gonna go that route? Is that where? And then you went there. I was like, oh, okay, I see where you're going now.
Use cheap labor.
They do that a lot in Arizona. Go down to Home Depot, buddy.
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. It's our last spring training episode. Next week will be our season preview. And if everything goes to plan, you will also see us Thursday night after opening day against the Braves. So real quick, as we've said, for the last month or so, since everything's picked up, Carlos is on fire. So on fire that it's going to put out that heat next week, Carlos. A nice cold PBR.
You got to remind me. Text me the day of, please.
I don't know. Do you just have PBR sitting in your fridge?
I do not.
I don't
I
either.
probably have to go to like the actual like big liquor store to find it where they have a big selection.
If I could mail some to you, I would. I just don't know if it'd get there in time. But thank you guys for tuning in. As always, it's been a lot of fun these past couple weeks getting ready for the season since the lockout. Make sure you go to Bet Online. Use that promo code BELIEVE to bet on the Final Four, the Reds, WrestleMania, as we found out was the thing you can bet on now. UFC, you name it. You can bet on it now, apparently. So, and also Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, whatever. 5-star reviews. 5 of them. Goes a long way for us in the Apple algorithm to where people find out who we are. So thank you all. We're definitely grateful. Cannot wait to start the season with you all next week. Have a good night and go Reds.
Thank you.